Hello, it's Nadia here for another video, and you are back to She Builds Again. I was 35 years old when I relocated from my home in Bermuda to Bali, Indonesia, with my son, who was 3 at the time, my husband, who we had been married for 7, almost 8 years at the time, and since then we've welcomed our daughter here in Bali. And so I share all about any kind of content around what it's like to have a family here and relocate from a small island and to find home in another part of the world completely on the other side of the globe. And so if you're interested, if you have any questions about the finances, the logistics of making a move like that, the mindset shifts that need to happen, then please let me know in the comments. I would love to answer in a future upcoming video, because there's just so much to talk about. There's so much that I'm sure you're curious about. There was so much that I didn't know about before I made the move. I wasn't sure if it would be possible. I had so many fears running on in the back of my mind. I just, to be honest, hadn't seen very many people, very many brown women, Black women, who had been able to do something like that, something so big. And I didn't know where to start at times. And so this has really been something that's near and dear to my heart, something that I care so much about, because I really do understand what it's like to be in an environment that isn't helping you to grow into the best version of yourself. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the country that you're from or the country that you lived, but certain environments, I truly do believe this, bring out the best in us and some that do not. And so this video in particular, I'm going to be talking about 4 of the things that have literally blown my mind since moving to Bali and Southeast Asia. You'd find this all around Southeast Asia if you've moved to this part of the world. And so I'm going to start with number 1, which is having a cleaner. And so it is so affordable to have a cleaner in this part of the world. It costs us about, and we actually pay our cleaner really, really well, but it costs us about $200 a month. And she comes 3 times a week and she cleans our house. And she also does some light food prep for us. Sometimes she cuts up vegetables or, cuts up fruits. She does actually some grocery shopping for us to get some fruits and veggies from the local market. And yeah, it's just a huge, huge help. I remember being in Bermuda, and something like that is such an extreme luxury. And so you would probably, if you're middle class, get to have a cleaner once a week. And I think we had one once a month back there, because it is definitely a big kind of investment. And so I think it's around $25 an hour. And for a house the size of what we have now, it would probably be about 6 hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours to clean. And so, yeah, it can definitely add up. I think it's, in comparison, maybe almost one time in Bermuda is equivalent to 3 times a week here, 1 time a month versus 3 times a week here. So I definitely feel like I'm getting so much bang for my buck, and it just helps me in so many different ways. I just feel like I'm so much less stressed. I know that there's someone coming tomorrow. In our case, she comes usually Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and she's gonna clean the house and sort things out and help us organize and just help us take the time to make sure that things don't get overwhelming and crowded in our space. And it really does mean so much to me. I have a 2-year-old now, she just went 2 last week, and I have a 7-year-old son. And trust me, the house gets crazy. The house gets so messy. Actually, after she leaves, the house gets messy again. But just knowing that she's coming back to bring some order to the chaos, it really does mean the world to me. She helps with cleaning out the fridge when it gets messy. She helps with just so much stuff. When we're away, I ask her to do different things to organize our wardrobes or clean out the toys or things like that. And she's such a blessing. I actually consider her one of my friends, because she's just a lovely human being, and she has just wrapped her arms around us and is kind of like a little sister. She's younger than me, even though I kind of feel like I look up to her a little bit. But yeah, so one thing I realized through my relationship with our cleaner and some of the other locals that we've met out here is that honestly, a little goes such a long way for them. And she's so grateful for what I pay her. And it's, not that much for us, but out here, is a huge deal. You know, she has other clients for the rest of the week, and she's actually the main breadwinner of her household because we've actually increased her pay since she's been with us. And so she actually has more options now. She has options for care for her son. She has options for just life. And I think that means the world to me, because I think every woman deserves to have options, and every woman deserves to have financial autonomy. And so for me, it goes even far beyond just the cleaning, which is amazing in itself. But the relationship that I have with our cleaner, Nia, she is a friend, hands down. She is someone who I talk to when she's here, and when I'm sick, she brings me coconuts, and she's just so thoughtful. She gets like little gifts for the kids for their birthdays, and she's just a really kind, genuine, loving, beautiful human, and I just want the best for her life. And so anyways, that's just a side note, but having a cleaner has blown my mind. Having a cleaner, because I do not like to clean. I know there are some women, and I remember, you know, having people in my family who just were happy with cleaning, and they were like happy with scrubbing, like deep cleaning their bathrooms on the weekend and making sure everything was like organized and beautiful. And I want things to be organized and beautiful, trust me, but I don't want to be doing the work. Like, it just honestly is so draining to me. I don't have the bandwidth, I don't have the energy, the time, nothing. So that was the first thing that I was so excited to be able to outsource, and it just feels so good to have, like I said, someone come in and to make the house feel like a home. And so another thing that has been just completely game-changing for my life since we moved to Bali is having a nanny. And so when we had just our son, we had like a light nanny, I would say. We had like a nanny who would help with like date nights, or like the occasional like after school if we got busy with work or that kind of thing. But since I was pregnant with my second child in 2013, like mid to late 2013 and early 2014, I really needed help with my son. I couldn't do all the things. I couldn't wake up early anymore. I was so exhausted. I just couldn't do all the after school and running around watching him, and, you know, doing all the activities like football and basketball and all the things that he needed to do to have a really happy life outside of school. And so even just the commute, honestly, like we had moved a little further away from his school, so it was about 20 minutes each way, and it was just so much. I was literally just in survival mode, trying to survive my pregnancy, get through all of the, you know, nausea and everything like that. And so having a nanny has been incredible. To top it off, our nanny was incredible with our son, but she's also amazing with our little girl. They're like best friends. They're like seriously so tight, and they have such a good relationship, and our daughter loves her. Like, you know, she sees her and she's just like so excited every single day. And it's so comforting as a mom to know that your daughter, as soon as they're with this person, is at peace, is calm, is excited, is, you know, just having the best life ever. And I actually think about the comparison between like my son's first couple years in Bermuda and my daughter's. And with my son, when he was around 3 months old, I went back to work. I have my own business, so I needed to go back to work and make sure clients were okay and taken care of. And my son went straight to a home cares. And so it was like an elderly woman. I think she was in maybe her 60s or something. And she had like 3 different, I think, boys at the time, including my son. And like, she was lovely and she was caring, and he was always safe, which was honestly the priority that I had. We had no problems with her. But he was literally just plopped on the ground mostly. She was, you know, had her own health challenges, so she wasn't super active with them. And she would make sure they were fed and changed and all the things they needed, but they were kind of just plopped in front of like a TV watching cartoons all day. Whereas my daughter is so active and she gets to do so many fun things. And it's like such a unique experience. She gets so much one-to-one, undivided attention. And honestly, it's priceless. Like, we see how she's growing and she's learning 2 languages. Like, she gets to learn Bahasa Indonesia from her nanny, and she gets to learn English at home from us. And so she we thought that my daughter was speaking complete gibberish, and sometimes she does. Sometimes she just goes blah, 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 you know. But eventually we realized that she was actually speaking Bahasa Indonesia and some of the words we just didn't know. So one day she was saying a few things to me, and to be honest, I didn't know what she was saying. I was trying to like guess. And my friend, who's been here for a lot longer than me, was like, she's telling you to sit down. She's saying duduk, duduk. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She's telling you to sit down. And so I was like, wow, okay. So she knows so many different words in Indonesia, which is really, really beautiful and awesome. And I hope that if we stay here long enough, that she'll be fluent and that she'll have that, additional skill and additional way to communicate with people here. And I think that's just like such a beautiful thing to have and such a beautiful experience, and part of her experience that she will always remember and cherish, hopefully. And so another thing, I was looking at my laptop, another thing that I have just absolutely loved, that has blown my mind about living here, is an app called Gojek. And if you are from the States, it's similar to like Uber, Uber Eats, Uber Car, all of that. But it's so affordable and so fast, and I'm just in love with this app. And so we didn't really have anything like this in Bermuda. We had something called Sargasso Sea, which is something where you can deliver mostly like food from restaurants to your house. But I never actually used it because I was like, okay, the food itself is expensive. Bermuda is one of the most expensive countries in the world. So if the food is expensive and then you have to pay for delivery from, 30 minutes away, on top of that, it's definitely going to be expensive and it's definitely going to add up. And me and my husband were like grinding to save money and cooking at home for the most part. And so, yeah, I never really used it, but it's kind of like those things, but just an Indonesian version. And so with Gojek, you can order Go Bike or Go Car. And usually it's here, like, unless it's raining, and then you have a problem. But usually it's here like within 2 to 5 minutes, and you jump on a bike and you go where you need to go and you come back. And like a 20 to 30 minute drive is probably gonna cost you like $2 US dollars. And then you add a tip, obviously. I always try to tip my drivers because they are, relying on our generosity to continue to make ends meet for their families. But yeah, that's just so incredible. The other thing that I love about Gojek is literally you can Gojek anything. You can go send anything. And so sometimes I might find a business on Instagram, like for instance, presents for my family. I might have, recently I got for Christmas these pillows, and I got them embroidered with like custom things, like custom names, custom greetings for them. And so the embroidery is actually in Kuta, which is probably 30 to 40 minutes away. And so I just order a Go Send. Someone comes to pick up the items from my house, take them to the embroideries, and then when it's ready, I do the same thing and bring it back. And that cost me the same. It cost me like $2 or $3. And sorry, but I just think it's literally the most incredible thing. I Go Send so many different things. I Go Send coconut water. I get these big bottles of 1.5 liters of coconut water, and I Go Send them from a place that's, maybe 10 to 15 minutes away. But the problem is that there's lots of traffic, and so that 10 to 15 minute drive could take you like 20 to 30 minutes, and it's just not worth my time for a couple bucks. And so I think it's just the level of convenience that for me has been really helpful. Like for instance, the other day, my son had a sleepover at his friend's house. We only let him do sleepovers at like a couple of friends' houses. But this one friend who's like a close family friend of ours, he was sleeping over at their house, and my son's been a little bit anxious. So he wanted this big beer. It's actually not his, it's my daughter's, but he wanted it to sleep with him at the sleepover. But he didn't tell us until my husband had already got there to pack, to drop off some other stuff. Anyway, so my husband ordered a Go Send. But it's just so convenient. It just makes life so much more simple. It just makes things easier. And so you don't have to really, spend an hour of your time doing something that would drain you. You just, spend $2 or $3 and get someone else to do it. And it's just honestly been a game changer in terms of making my task or to-do list so much smaller, so much easier, so much shorter, and I get what I want. straight to my door. And I usually, like I said, I give a tip, and I am just, so grateful for this service. I think it's incredible. And so the last thing that I would say has completely blown my mind since I moved to Bali is the types of people that I meet. And I think there are incredible people all over the world for sure, but I feel like Bali in particular is one of those hubs that attracts a certain type of person. There's so many entrepreneurs, there's so many people that have like lifestyle businesses or coaches. There's so many people like in the wellness space. There's so many people who are so well traveled. And another thing is we've also met people who are really, really well off, but also down to earth. And so I think that just meeting people with access to money, meeting people with access to wealth, beautiful homes, beautiful, experiences that they get to take their family on, beautiful trips and travel. I don't think it's like a prerequisite in terms of my friendship, to have people that are wealthy, but I think that it's actually taught me a lot about myself, because it's taught me that you can be a good person and have wealth. It's taught me about what wealth can actually do in terms of the types of experiences that you get to have. And it's actually started to help me to think bigger and think differently about what's possible for my life, because they say like you're only as successful as like the 5 people that you hang out or spend the most time with, right? And so if I'm spending time with people who are also building incredible businesses and making 6 figures or making 7 figures, then all of that is rubbing off on me in whatever way, shape, or form. And I definitely have had really incredible experiences since we've come here. And I think it's also for sure impacted me and my husband and what we believe is possible for our own kind of wealth building and wealth strategy going forward. Excuse me. So that's really what has excited me about our friendship group. Not only are they inspiring and interesting and people that have been to so many different parts of the world that I have not yet been able to get to, but they're also people who either have built wealth or are using their wealth to do really beautiful things with their lives. And I think that is just so incredible to see. It inspires me all the time. It motivates me. And it's given me a different perspective on money and just how I want to use money when it shows up in my life. And so I'm just really grateful, because I feel like my perspective on generosity has also shifted a lot since coming here. And I would say probably for the first time in my life, because I used to live in a very scarce money mindset kind of way. I used to really feel like, oh, everything is so expensive. Money, you have to hold on to it. You have to save as much as you can, kind of like squirrel it away. And I've kind of realized since moving over here, which is I think a really big benefit of having the kind of circle that we have now, is that my mindset around money is that I am already so blessed. I already have so much. I already have, more than not more than I need, but, more than I thought was possible at one point. And so just being so, so grateful for everything that I have and just believing that more is possible. I think that is just an incredible way that my mindset has shifted. And I'm just so, so excited for what we're going to be able to build over the next couple of years as a family. And yeah, it's just exciting. And so those are the main 4 ways that I feel like my mind has been blown since moving to this part of the world. And I really hope that if you are interested in moving to a different part of the world, that you really, really take the time to be intentional about it. Get all of the things in place, start to think of all the to-dos that you need to do, but most importantly, really, really, really start to work with someone, start to surround yourself with other people, start to consume content so that you understand that it's possible. Surround yourself with people who have done it. Find people on Facebook, find people on Instagram, find people on YouTube that have done what you're trying to do, and just allow their stories to remind you of what's possible for your own life. And so I'm really, really excited about all of the possibilities that are open to us here. And I'm definitely going to do another video as well about some of the cons, because I think that There are pros and cons everywhere. And I don't want to paint a picture of this being some perfect oasis, because there are always challenges. But I do believe that every problem has a way that you can solve it if you're willing. And so thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this video. If you have any questions, like I said, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear, and let me know where in the world you would love to relocate to. I'd love to find out. Okay, chat to you soon. Bye.